let's talk about puppy imprinting. You want to introduce your puppy to moderate levels of exposure to environmental stress and social stress. A lot of people are like, oh, no, we just want to socialize them and everything's got to be positive and fun. You can say that to yourself, but everything new that your dog sees is stress, okay? Because they've never seen it before. And of course, like people, dogs handle stress differently. Of course, the way they handle stress is dictated to a huge degree by their genetics. But again, off the topic of genetics, let's focus on what you can do with your puppy. Let's talk about, I have a normal puppy. Like, everything's normal. He's a happy social guy. Yeah, sure. Sometimes he's a little bit worried about stuff. What should I do with that puppy? Well, every couple days I take him in public. I walk him through the park. I let him see geese. I let him see squirrels. I let him see other dogs. I let him see people. I'll do all this kind of stuff. This is a huge thing for me. So what I'm describing is socialization and exposure. And that's really important stuff. I think probably the most important thing you can do when they're young. Now, let's talk about the puppy that's a little bit more shy and fearful. Let's say a puppy that's really anxious about social interactions, like he sees another dog, another person, and you can tell he's really worried, upset, and afraid by this. What a lot of people do is they make the mistake of forcing a lot of social interactions. Usually what you're doing is you just really imprint on the dog the stress of the interaction. So when you have a puppy who says, I'm afraid of strange people, and you say, okay, well, you're going to meet 100 people. Well, guess what? You're making all his fears come true. You're making all that stress come true. What I do with these types of dogs is I don't force the interaction. I just take him around people, I take him around strange dogs, and I don't allow interaction with those things that he's scared of. I just basically focus the dog on me, and that's the interaction he gets. And if I keep that puppy safe from unwanted social interaction, what happens is after a while, he stops caring, because guess what? He learns those strange people and those strange dogs don't mean anything. Let's talk about training. People think like, hey, like I gotta train them all this stuff when they're young, otherwise they won't know. That's not the case at all. I get dogs in here all the time, 1 year old. They don't have any training, and I can train them, no problem. And you see after like a month or two, the dog looks like he's been trained for 1 year. Do you have to do things with them as puppies? No, you don't. But here's what I have noticed. Dogs that are not introduced to pressure prior to a year of age, to any kind of pressure, that pressure becomes very stressful for them when you introduce them to it. And they generally will have like a really like kind of crazy response, like they'll really overreact to the pressure, and it takes a while to work them through that. That's why in all my puppy classes we do pressure to position, and it's not because we're trying to correct them or anything like that. It's I need to habituate the dog to pressure. This is basically what we do with horses as well, right? Those of you that are horse people, you got to habituate the colt or the filly to pressure. Otherwise, if they've never felt pressure, they have a complete panic attack. So puppy imprinting in this way is important at the very minimum. Now let's talk about ideal puppy imprinting. Well, you see it in my videos, right? Like I've got my German Shepherd Gage, I've got my Malinois Dizzy. I'm doing all this stuff with them. They never eat from their bowl. They only eat for work. Sometimes, I'm in a big hurry, so, I'll only make them do a few things, and I just give them huge handfuls of food for those things. But that really, like those dogs really want to work. And the reason why they want to work is they've learned that work is the way to eat. So they have such a positive association with the work, because all puppies love to eat, right? The only puppies that don't like to eat are puppies that you feed. You give them too much free food, and what's free isn't desirable. I also play with toys, and I show the puppy how to play with toys. I don't really give my puppies toys like a ball or a tug to like go away and play with. Toys are between me and the puppy. That's a really important thing that I introduce. I don't do a ton of it before they're done teething, because I just don't find that it really makes a huge difference. But at the end of the day, it is important that the dog learn to interact with you with toys. Now, I'll give them stuff to chew on, like those Nylabones or head deer antler or whatever, and they can have that to chew on for their gums and their teeth. But I don't really give them toys just to play with on their own. One more thing, crating. Crating is really, really important. I train these puppies to be crated because almost every example of separation anxiety that I see is because people don't crate their dog, and they don't crate the dog away from them. The dog is always with them. So the dog develops a social dependence, especially for a dog that's a little bit less confident. They develop this complete dependence on always being in the room with the handler. So if you plan on going to work ever, or you plan on ever leaving your dog somewhere because you want to go on a vacation, this can be very difficult for your dog. So for me, up to at least a year, my puppies are crated in the basement when I'm not in the home with them. If me or my family's in the home, then they're on their placemats, and that's another video altogether. But this is just a real quick blurb on what I do with puppies and what I think should be done with puppies. And I think I'll probably shoot some more videos on it. But for now, hopefully this kind of helps you guys.